going to preview the Baylor at BYU women's soccer game, which will be played on October 17th at 8 p.m. Central Time on ESPN Plus. There will be live sets as well. And I couldn't do it like a pre-recorded version and upload this literally today because BYU actually played on yesterday, aka Monday, against Kansas State. And I'll go over that result in a minute. I had to update the stats, update the starts, update the formations they use, and all that. So just a heads up there. Now, Baylor's coming off of a 2-0 loss to West Virginia, but there's no shame to losing to them, especially given West Virginia's RPI and the conference standings and everything. But they could have helped themselves for the NCAA tournament and potentially Big 12 standings. I don't know about, maybe just kept themselves at 9th. That's all they had to do. They couldn't do it. They lost to West Virginia 2-0 in order to be 7-6-3 on the year, 2-4-2 in the Big 12. And one thing to note, BYU is not the same team as last year, where Baylor got beat down 4-0 at home. They lost so many seniors from a year ago. And look at the overall record for BYU. It's not as good as last year, to say the least. And I'll put the roster for BYU in the description below so y'all can see. And I'm sure BYU isn't going to be even receiving votes in all this. They actually started in the top 10 at the beginning of the year, and they slipped. And now they're a bubble team, just like Baylor is in terms of RPI. And I'll go over RPI in a minute. And BYU is coming off with a 1-0 win against Kansas State, but that's nothing to write home about. Let's be honest, Kansas State's one of the worst teams in the Big 12. When you look at the standings, it's just telling the truth. And BYU is 6-5-4 on the year, 4-2-2 in the Big 12. So overall record's very similar. So this is more even level playing field, to say the least. And I get the RPI stuff is prior to BYU playing yesterday, but I just want to go over that in a real quick. And needless to say, both these teams' RPIs are very close to each other. But this is this was prior to yesterday's game. I mean, BYU is number 40, while Baylor is number 46 in RPI. So yeah, Baylor needs to find a way to win this quality game here, to say the least, for the NCAA tournament standings, because now they do not want to slip to close to the 50s. And I don't know, based on that result for BYU, whether that RPI goes up or goes down, as in closer to 35 or closer to Baylor in 46. I don't know in all this, but I'll tell you what. This is still a quality game here, and look, BYU, like I said, is not the same team as last year. And I'm sure revenge is on Baylor's mind after that beatdown, and now that we could just go to Provo and try to beat them this time. And you can tell on the formations, it's so much variance. But when you look at the last 5, they use 5 games or so, or something like that. It's 4 defenders, 2 to 5 midfielders, and 1 to 4 forwards. And y'all can check out in the description below for BYU stats and the roster, because I'm not going to mention every single player, but obviously their starting goalie, which she's back from last year's Lynette Hernandez, and I'm going to just say this: she's allowed more goals this year than last year, easily. Number 00, 5'11" goalie. That's a sophomore. 21 goals allowed and 53 saves. Yeah, that's a lot of goals allowed this year compared to last year. So, what are some other players to keep on? It's Avery Frischneck, Frischknecht, number 4, 5'10" defender. That is a sophomore, 2 goals and 12 shots attempted. Then there's Aaron Bailey, and I apologize if I'm looking down because I cannot memorize all this stuff. Number 7, 5'5" forward, as a junior, 4 goals and 15 shots attempted and 1 assist. And I do not know the injury status for BYU And I'll go over Baylor's notable player that got carted off the field last game, and I don't know about her playing in this game, but you'll know who I'm talking about in a minute. And there's Sierra Pennock, number 8, 5'5" midfielder as a junior, 9 shots attempted and 2 assists. Then it's Emma Hamberling, number 14, 5'8" forward as a freshman, 9 shots attempted and 2 assists. Mika Kromenhoek, Kromenhoek, number 18, 5'8" midfielder as a freshman, 1 goal and 20 shots attempted and 3 assists. Okay, so, but the real notable player, to be honest, is Allie Fryer, or Fryer. It might be Freyer, I don't know. Apologize if I did butcher that. Number 23, 5'7" midfielder / forward as a junior, 6 goals and 51 shots attempted and 2 assists. So yeah, that's their leading goal scorer for this year so far. And literally one other player I'm going to make a note of is Mackenzie Vance, number 44, 7" midfielder / forward as a junior, 4 goals and 28 shots attempted and 1 assist. So I'm going to say this up front. Marissa Gray was carted off the field last game. And this is from the Baylor website on a recap of the game. Yeah, and I'm 4 minutes after they gave up a goal to be down 2-0, she was carted off the field with a apparent leg injury. I don't know if she's going to play or not, but if nothing else, you got to have other players step up. And it's just rough for her because she literally came back for her last year of eligibility, despite walking on senior day a few years ago and now this. And look, she hasn't played prior to this year since her true freshman year in 2019. And I feel for her on that. And hopefully that was not her last game in a career, but we'll see what happens once we get the live stats and everything. And one thing across the board, you got to correct what you do wrong on last game and fix it for this game. You obviously have to. And what you did right last game, you got to do in this game. You know what's crazy is West Virginia outshot Baylor in the first half, but overall shots, Baylor tied with them. Yet they gave up 2 goals. You can't allow that to happen. You can't have mental lapses in a game. Just can't. I mean, that's the truth. And we do need to start faster, and that doesn't mean wait for them to show what they're going to do. You got to go out there and show them what to do, what we're going to do, and show them who's boss. I mean, of course, you want to keep your composure and all this, of course. Because you don't want a yellow card or 2 yellow cards, and that means a red, you're down 1 player for the rest of the game. And you got to bring the energy, and I get this game is in altitude, but here's the catch. BYU had to play Kansas State at Kansas State. Now they're traveling all the way back to Provo. And we just stayed here, and we're probably going to travel sometime soon, whether it's today or tomorrow. But either way, we have a slight rest advantage. Slightly. To say the least. And you got to come out desperate for this game a little bit. And I'm sure they're going to, because one, they might improve their Big 12 standings a little bit. Because what if all the other results happen in front of them and behind them, help them, honestly. And you can't rely on other teams, though, I know. But you got to go out and win this game. And this is like an NCAA tournament playing game, potentially. You need to find a way to win this game. I don't care how. Because this team for BYU is not as good as last year. It's just not. And you got to have that revenge factor. And I'm sure they do. because they remember that beatdown last time. I'm sure. I have no doubt about it, and they're going to probably be reminded of it, and they got to come out hungry and a lot of injury, like I said. Obviously, you want to shut down the best players as much as possible in the scoring aspect, and you could tell that they're not as strong defensively. They even tied with Kansas 2 games ago, so they can't be scored on. But here's the catch. You got to not let them score early for BYU, unlike West Virginia game. You just cannot. Or even allow a second goal to happen. I mean, and you got to execute your set pieces on offense. Whether it's like a free kick that's close to the scoring area or down the sideline, or even halfway and send the ball to the box and try to score off of that, or a corner kick. Obviously, on defense, you need to be solid in those situations, as well as like 1v1 situations. I mean, it's obviously you need to make adjustments on the fly throughout the game and everything, not just from first half, second half, but during those halves. And we'll see about if there's any stoppage breaks like water breaks for like hydration. I don't think it's going to be the case because it's not in Texas. It's not going to be that hot. I wouldn't think so, but we'll see. And hopefully this game does not get canceled. Hopefully it doesn't. Because it does. This isn't a quality game to help both teams out, especially Baylor's sake right now. Because look, their RPI went down with that loss to West Virginia. I mean, it did slightly go down. And all this, and I would also say you got to pass the ball better and try to dictate the pace better, unlike that West Virginia game in the first half. Second half, you can tell about the shots. There's been more shots, and you got to have more corner kicks than BYU. Obviously, as long as we get goals behind the net, that's fine. You just got to come with stops, and obviously you don't want to have a handball in the box or a foul in the box on defense, because that means PK. And you know that's a guessing game, and obviously if they do that to you, that's totally different. And you can't let the officials dictate this game. You gotta find a way to make plays to win. I mean, find a way to make plays in order to win the game like this. I mean, that's the truth. And this would help your RPI a lot. I mean, some. I don't know about how much with a win here. I don't know about a tie. I don't know how much that's going to really help. And you can't rely on like teams around that same area winning or losing games here. So you got to come out and try to do it on your own terms here. And I know the good news is this is more winnable than a year ago. First of all, the both teams are very similar in record and winning percentage. I get conference. Baylor may not catch up to BYU in terms of Big 12 standings, but this could help Baylor in Big 12 standings by moving up some, depending on other results. But I don't know, and all this, and you cannot have obviously teams behind. You can't rely on teams behind you losing games. I mean, just to keep where you're at, because you're number 10 right now. So you know the top 12 teams getting the Big 12 tournament. You got to find a way to win this game. And you got to play a little bit ticked off. You're coming off of a loss after all. I mean, that's the thing. And obviously, you try to make those shots difficult for BYU as much as possible. And I would try to don't turn the ball on your own end, or even in midfield, because that gives them a shorter chance to score, potentially. And obviously, if you force them to turn the ball over in their own end, and even in the midfield, that's even better. I mean, that'll help yourselves. And you got to win those 50-50 balls, whether it's in the air or on the ground. And I'm not just talking about like when it's scoring either, but like on a goal kick or even like a long ball, and you got to be solid defensively. And let's go out there. Don't be intimidated by them or that crowd, and show them we are better than last year. We're going to get a win over you or like a tie with you, but I prefer a win, obviously, and we all do. So, and I'm sure Michelle Leonard and staff will have this game prepared, and obviously you want to exploit the weaknesses for BYU while containing their strengths, and you gotta use your strengths as much as like try to play to your strengths as much as possible while helping your weaknesses out. I mean, it's the truth in all this. So, and get some key stops. Whether it's and if you're up late in the game, you gotta try to clear that ball out. If you're on the defensive side of things, clear the ball out as soon as possible and time waste. If you're up, I mean, just or even like tied and BYU has a chance to take the lead late to potentially win the game, get stops. And obviously, if you're on offense, you try to get, if it's still tied or if you're up, I mean, you're tied in the game, trying to go for the late win in the game. You got to execute. So that's enough said about this game. So anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. I'll see you guys later on the road to 7 subscribers. Sports ultimate goal. It's 1,000 more spend money out this course. Like video, comment video really helps YouTube algorithms. So more people see it. Sharing the videos help as well. So more people can watch it. And if you're watching and subscribe, hit subscribe buttons for the notification bell as well. And the good news is for Baylor, right after this game, the next two games in terms of RPI, those two teams are worse. They are worse than Baylor. So they should not have any excuses. Not to say they shouldn't have any excuses, but they honestly should be Utah on the road. I get it's on the road, and Iowa State on the road at the very end of the year. And I'll go over those previews when I need to, okay? But you get the whole point. And a win right here, as well as getting wins on the last two games, they're going to help yourself, not just for Big 12 standings, but for NCAA tournament bid potential. And you got to find a way to get yourselves in the Big 12 tournament and then try to win a game, like a game or two there. And I cannot foresee who is Baylor going to play in the Big 12 tournament right now until we get closer. But once we get closer, I kind of go over it, like for the Big 12 tournament, what it is. So just keep an eye out for that. And I cannot, like, I'm not going to preview like those games. By the way, it's just too quick of turnarounds, especially if it's like an opponent that Baylor's not played. I'm not ready at all. But I'll just give like, what is at stake for that type of game. So just keep an eye out for that. Or like that's probably going to be more like when the Big 12 tournament is set. Okay? Just keep an eye out for it.